Welcome back to our podcast. My name is Melanie Thorley, and today we have Melissa Langton with us. Melissa Langton is a HR expert who's served 2 decades in Queensland in both private and public sectors. Although you're watching MJT Law today, we've also got a visitor for the first time.
Very lucky.
It's really exciting to have you. Now, you have been in the business for a really long time, and although I want to talk a little bit about the HR, to all our employer clients or employer visitors, you might want to stick around and find out a little bit more about that. Today, I want to talk a bit more about resilience. You have, in the past 4 years, 3 years, 4 years, oh my God, you've had 2 children, you've renovated the house, and you've managed a business. Mm-hmm. And you've gone through these challenging times.
Yes.
How's it been?
I had to cover my grey hairs before I came to see you.
I suspect we all have to do that from time to time. Gets harder and harder as we get older.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you so much, first of all, for the invitation.
It's a pleasure.
When you invited me along to talk about resilience, I went, why would you want to talk to me? Because in all seriousness, there's so many people out there that are doing their thing without talking about it, or without singing about it, or getting any support.
Yeah.
So shout outs to you all.
Yeah.
But it really has been challenging for everyone, and I've had some unique by choice, clearly. Because I know how children happen.
We're not just talking about the last 12 months. We're talking about the last 4 years. Yeah. You wake up one morning and you're having a kid and you have a business. So was there... for those of you who don't know, I actually don't have children, so I've never had to deal with this particular situation. I do have 2 cats and a dog.
Kind of equivalent, to be honest.
But for far shorter times.
Yeah.
So how's it been? Like... Did you have to manage your clients? Did you have to manage your life? Did you have an incredibly extensive calendar where you had to get everything? I mean, what were you doing? How were you managing it all?
They all sound like really good ideas, and I probably should have done that, to be honest. But I started my business with the view that I wanted to have a family. So that was one of the reasons I started my business. One of the many, but that was one of the key drivers. Being a bit of master of my own destiny. Having
that flexibility?
Yeah.
So this probably relates to a lot of our viewers out there. Those who are in work, not quite as flexible as they want, and they start their own businesses for lots of reasons. And one of them is obviously flexibility. A bit more me time.
Yeah, and for those of us who've been in business for a little while, you start to realise there's absolutely no flexibility whatsoever.
Who knew?
There's so much to do.
Yes, I think I worked more as a business owner than I did when I was employee.
Yeah.
But it's a labour of love though, right?
Really what it has given me is choice. That's it. It's a choice of what I want to do with my time. It's a choice of what I want to devote my hour to, where I devote my thought to. Some of it may feel like it's not necessarily a choice, but when it boils down to, and you give yourself a sort of virtual slap across the face and go, this is actually a choice, you don't have to be doing this, then it sort of puts things into perspective. And that's probably the one thing I've drawn on over the last 4 years is, what is my choice in this instant? Do I choose this path or this path? What's best for me? And then, as it came about, what's best for my family as well.
So is that where the resilience comes for you? Is that where moving forward in times where... Because what I see resilience as is continuing to move forward even though we may not have any energy left, or how to have more energy when really the answer is we have none.
Yeah.
Just kind of stepping out of the now and moving forward in time.
It's probably more granular for me. It's actually, how do I just continue to breathe?
Okay. Yeah.
And that might sound a little bit morbid, but what it is about, what do I do next? What's just the next step? It mightn't even be forward. It could be sideways, or it could just be, how do I just continue to function right now?
Have you found that your clients are facing the same issues? Because you're in HR, right? and HR brings its own set of challenges, or shall I say, running a business with employees, which is what HR is all about, brings its own set of challenges. Do you find that your clients are having the same issue?
Resilience, everyone's exhausted. And that's the business owners, but also their teams.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I'm finding is change fatigue.
Right.
So
okay.
it's that constant, it might even be a dramatic shift. It's just there's something else happening that's different, and how do we adjust? Or trying to make plans on the unknown. And we've come to the end of something different, but we actually don't know what the next different is, because we're all facing a bit of a cliff with the job keeper. And
I think that's absolutely right. I remember the GFC 2009. Yeah, you love it.
I was made redundant
it was
for
so
the second time, Melanie.
So horrifying.
So yes, I do remember it.
Yeah, it was a horrifying time for the world in general. I remember that, and I felt for about 4 years, maybe even 5, that people were holding their breaths, waiting for something to happen. And what we should have been doing was going, this is the new norm, and let's just get on with it. And it took us, as a community, I think, a really long time to get our heads around that. Do you think it's going to take the same amount of time this time? Are we going to be in this for years, or are we just going to go, oh, this is the new norm, let's keep moving forward?
I think it's probably 6 of one and half a dozen of
right.
another there.
Okay.
People are really exhausted with the change, as I mentioned before, but I think there is some genuine learning that's happened previously. Also looking at the fact that technology has put us in an environment that is constantly changing. So there is an element of kind of learned behaviour, but the pace at which it's happening is having quite a dramatic impact on teams and businesses and my clients and my family. So trying to understand what decisions to make, because it becomes quite noisy. And that's also in my reflection of asking the questions around resilience, is choosing what actually matters and what's important, and staying in your lane, I think, is another thing. Not trying to be all things to all people has really helped me a lot as well.
Yeah, I think in many ways what we should do as individuals is just understand that we're okay not having all the answers, and we're not going to have all the answers on this particular situation, because even for me and my strategic planning in business, I actually don't know what's in front of me, but that doesn't mean I shouldn't strategic plan. So
spot on.
It is actually a really weird space to be in, and those of you who don't know much about lawyers, we are the ultimate planners. Yeah, we are all about the outcome and how to strategize to get there. So when we don't know what the outcome is, and we are making a strategy into the great wide, we find that really disruptive, and it's a psychological problem for us. So I find that a real struggle, but I know I must strategic plan. So I mean, we're at the end of the first quarter. The second quarter, third quarter.
So first quarter.
Oh my God.
The calendar year, third quarter in the financial year.
We're into the third quarter, and for me, it's now a revisit of my strategic plan at the end of the financial year last year, and I need to move forward. I haven't done it yet because we're not there, but I actually don't know how to even plan that. So for me, it's a matter of getting a blank piece of paper and starting something, writing something down. I'm going to start with my old strategic plan and work on it from there, because that's what I know. But it's the unknown that I find really actually the biggest challenge is when and I'm going to take it back to a personal level and out of the environment we are at the moment. When you were pregnant, this was a massive unknown for you. And I recall that many years ago you said to me, I don't know what sort of baby I'm going to have. It could be a sleepy baby, it could be an awake baby, it could be a noisy baby, it could be a needy baby, it might not be a needy baby. I'm just going to see how it goes. How did that work with your business plan?
It didn't.
Right.
So when I talk to people about
best laid plans, people.
I really have started my business 3 times now. So when I first met you, we both started together.
Oh my God.
I know. our scared little faces at the Brisbane North Chamber of Commerce. But look where it's led us. How fantastic. And then I had my first child and started the business again, knowing I would have a second, or hoping I could have a second, and was blessed with another one. But yeah, started it again. And I happened to come off maternity leave last January 2020. So, yeah.
Okay.
It's been fun.
Right.
Yeah. So that was a whole nother interesting... I thought I knew what I was doing coming out of the second maternity leave, going, yep, I've got it all.
Right.
Oh,
been there, done that. Yeah. Let's go.
And again, thinking, been there, done that. I've had one kid. I know what to do with the second one. Yeah.
Right.
So there's definitely an element of giving into you where you're supposed to be at the right time and what do you need right now. So I actually just need you to go and get me a tub of Reese's ice cream, please, husband. And while you're at it, some ice magic.
Yeah, because actually it's really hard today, and I just
today's a really hard day.
Yeah, I just need to do something. It's really interesting because I take a different approach to resilience, and you know that actually. Those who don't know much about me, you're welcome to cyberstalk me. There's a lot of information out there about me. But I choose physical activities that there is no possible way I can achieve today and work towards it in the future. So I've been doing this my entire life. And the first one I did was when I was in my very early 20s, and it was the Empire State Building run-up. And it's progressed from there. And
boy, has it. Oh my goodness.
And in recent years there's been open water swims and crossing Simpson Deserts on my mountain bike, and some of them take more time than others. The Simpson Desert one took 2 years of serious training. The open water swim took about 7 months of training. Some take more, some take less. But it's about not achieving a goal today at all that I can do. I am not a swimmer, I am not a mountain biker, I am not a stair climber, none of these things are me, but I still go forward and train for it, and it's because it is bigger than me that makes me focus on it. And because these activities, in my view, are so hard, it takes all my attention, which gives me that downtime I need. So, I look at it, so we have two completely different concepts of how resilience occurs and how we get resilience. And it's really interesting that it's worked for both of us in our own ways. I couldn't do your way, and I'm fairly certain that my way's not for everyone as well.
Yeah, no. I can vouch for me. No.
There's a fair amount of pain and suffering that goes on in my way, but also for yours as well.
And to be honest, my resilience now and coping with that is very different pre-business even. So it's an acknowledgement of what do you need at a primal level, and then finding a way to be able to do that. Because again, having a shift in priorities of outside yourself or looking after something other than yourself, or making a choice, whether it be living somewhere different or changing careers, whatever it might be, but moving outside of the known into the unknown, which is exactly what you're talking about, is really about understanding when it is unknown and acknowledging how you're actually feeling. And I can guarantee, and I know that this is the case for you, you can't do it without support.
No, you can't.
That would be my biggest...
I was going to talk about that, because you're talking about having a family and running a business and what that looks like. But I would assume that you had a fair amount of familial support, your husband, your family, especially if it came to looking after the child. Just so you know, guys, you might be able to hear that noise in the background. It's actually my puppy playing with a rattly toy. So if anyone can hear that, just set it aside.
Welcome to parenthood, Melanie.
It's a tiny puppy of mine. At some point, I'm sure the puppy will star in a video, but right now she's put aside playing with a rattly toy. So you had your family involved in this, and I assume they were looking after the baby or babies while you were out getting work done and you were coming back. And I just honestly, it just sounds like a nightmare. How does one manage this?
So definitely knowing that you've got the support, but talking about it. So I try really hard to respect people's time. So it's not just because I've got the kids or I need to go to work, you should have them.
Right.
I work with my husband and work with my parents-in-law because my parents aren't in town, and I would try and give them as much notice as possible. I would ask, can you do it? If you can't, then I would try and change things around. But it all boils down to establishing expectations.
Okay.
Very similar to working with clients or teams.
Well, this is true, isn't it? Working with family to have a blended care environment is very much like an employment environment where it's a blended environment. You have people from different backgrounds, you've got people who are female, male, other genders, and you actually have to figure out how to work together, and one needs respect in that environment.
And really common values. Because if I had in-laws or family that didn't value family or the connection or support, which that's sometimes what happens, and that's fine. If you don't have that, it's really difficult.
So how do you teach your clients to give that value? Because that's not necessarily intrinsic. Yeah, we as business owners, we're really good at knowing what we want our employees to do, but we're not very good at knowing how to get them to do it in a way that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So how do you help your clients do that? Your employer clients do
really
that?
Good question is, what are your values?
Okay.
And they might be able to tell me or not.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, so what would your employees say?
Ah.
And they'll go, oh, they'd say that. I said, would they? Let's find out. And I actually talk to them, and 9 times out of 10 they just go, oh, I actually don't know what their values are. Or they're on the wall. How does it mean to you? And they'll all have different interpretations.
Right.
It all boils down to everyone having a common understanding.
Right.
So they all have to have the same definition of what it means for respect, value, integrity, accountability, whatever it looks like.
It's very funny you say that, because I work with a lot of employer clients too, and almost always those are in their values. Those words are in the values, but what it means, how it gets manifested, is actually a really interesting thing.
How do you measure it?
How do you measure it?
It's great to have it here and talk about it, and people are doing stuff. Are they aligned at all? Are we actually holding anyone to account to them? Are we rewarding against them? Are we disciplining against them? Do we have consequences if they don't meet it? Very similar to having kids, to be honest.
So is it possible, because we all do it as business, we have these lovely values, or we've got these aspirations for our employees and for how we do our work, but we forget about them. So is it a case of training your clients to continue to evaluate and continue to visit and revisit? I was doing a talk recently about social media and the pitfalls, essentially. So how to deal with discrimination in social media and when it comes into the workplace and vicarious liability. Bit of a heavy topic. And one of the things that I was saying is that, yes, policies are great, but if you never visit them, you never apply them, you never remind your employees of them, what's the point of them? One good example might be, and I used it in this talk, is you might have a policy that you have an appropriate alcohol use policy, perhaps, and you have a policy that says when there's alcohol around, there should be food and non-alcoholic drinks. And that's fine, and hopefully you do that each time, but do you remind your employees of the discrimination policy before they go out to a bar to have Friday night drinks? So these are I'm just wondering, how do you explain that to an employer who it's not on their mind anymore? They've got these beautiful policies.
Yes.
They spend a lot of money on them.
Yes.
They send them out to their employees, and then
thou shalt. Yeah.
What happens next?
So I find a lot, if it doesn't mean anything, there's no point having it. So just because a lawyer or a HR person or someone says have them, if they don't mean anything, just don't bother.
Okay.
But you have to know the consequences if you don't bother.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a matter of, it's a lot of people view HR policies as an insurance policy.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's quite flawed, because an insurance policy implies that we've got everything covered, we'll just keep doing what we're doing, and then when something happens, that'll cover us, which is the complete
Yeah, okay.
So it's really about, and we're going back to even values. If they aren't meaningful, why do we have them? Oh, we have them for these reasons, and so therefore you need to reinforce them.
Right.
And it just, to boil it all down, management capability and leadership. You're a leader, that's what you should be living by.
So what does a good leader look like then?
For me, it is huge. And I think we'll need another half an hour to do that. But for me, it's actually doing what you say you were going to do.
Okay.
Being honest and transparent. And really, accountability isn't about just a leader's job. It's about everyone holding everyone else accountable.
Okay.
I have some amazing tools and resources from Patrick Lencioni. And it's actually, leadership is about being a cohesive team and leading a cohesive team. But that's not about the one person, it's about the collective. So it's a leader being able to bring everyone on that journey and to get down and dirty if they require it. So that means living the values, breathing it. You can't hold someone to account to a standard of behaviour or a policy if you don't follow it yourself.
It's really interesting. As an employer and as an employment lawyer, what I look for is a high functioning team. But that's what you're talking about. I'm using a different word. I'm looking for a cohesive team that works well in an environment where it can be pressured, but we can lean on each other and we get a lot of work done, but we're all doing it in one sort of movement.
Do you know what it all boils down to? Trust.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
It's all about trust, but it's vulnerability-based trust.
Okay.
So I know when working with you, Melanie, you put your hand up to say, I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So let's figure it out together.
Yeah.
This is outside of my lane. And if we even go back to how you made it work with your family, I trust them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that sometimes, well, of course you trust them. No. I genuinely trust that my husband can feed my children.
Right. That vulnerability trust.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
so,
in a work environment, we're talking about not just showing our employees that we're sitting on an ivory tower and we know everything, but in fact, this is a journey I'm working on too.
Because once you have that vulnerability-based trust, and Patrick Lencioni has a whole model around it, and I love it because a lot of people focus on this accountability part, and it's actually number 3.
Okay.
It's number 4, because the first part is about that vulnerability-based trust, but then it's about productive conflict. And that's a real oxymoron when people sort of talk about it. What do you mean by productive conflict? I said, but if you can trust the person that you're working with. If you don't think something is right, you can trust that if you tell them, they will know you're not doing it personally.
Just to be bitchy.
Yeah. You're actually doing it as I genuinely don't think it's a great idea.
Team, that sort of thing.
So it's that constructive debate. Because once you have that trust and you are able to have that constructive debate and you decide, everyone's had an opportunity to talk, everyone's had an opportunity to be able to voice their opinion, and we've worked through it, we've all decided that this is the best course of action, you then can commit to it because you trust them. And then there's a whole heap more, but
this is really
that's
interesting.
what you're really talking about.
In this environment, we've had to deal with the work health and safety issues that come around with the COVID situation. The changes. And we wanted to make a policy on this because the question came up, how sick is too sick to come to work?
Yeah.
Is it coughing? Is it having a sneeze? Have we got allergies? What is our as an office tolerance level?
Yeah.
And I got my whole team together and we sat down at that round table you walked past and we talked it through and we listened to each other's points of view on what was this and that. Ultimately, I have to make a decision, and I let them know that ultimately I need to make a decision. But I needed to find out where their tolerances were on this. So, do we send someone home for one sneeze? Do we get a COVID test if we wake up with a headache? Where's our tolerances here? It was really interesting to find out because at the end of it, we had completely different views at the beginning of the conversation. But by the end of it, we had a consensus, which I believed we could all live with and apply. And it was just, I see what you mean by that.
And then once you've been through that process, if someone decides they don't want to follow that process, you then have a consequence to say, we all decided to do this.
Yeah.
Why is it that you decided not to do it? Or can you help me explain why you've decided not to do this?
Now, this doesn't work with every policy.
Oh, absolutely.
Kind of a driving policy where people are like, I like to speed, what's wrong with it? This sort of thing. But it does work with policies and especially around the work health and safety space,
absolutely.
where everyone's got kind of different sensibilities on these things.
Yeah.
So when we're doing this vulnerability thing, when we are trusting each other, we have a cohesive work environment, which I see as a high functioning team.
Absolutely.
Right. How does it work in a small environment though? Because it's easy for me. I've got all my team, they're here and they're sitting here every day. What if they're not sitting here every day?
Same concepts. You just need to change the way you communicate.
How does it work? Like if you're let's say you're a landscape gardener, you've got 3 team members, they're at 3 different places. How does it work in practice? What do you
Structured messaging. Being really purposeful in your activity.
Okay.
So knowing that as a leader, I need to make sure that there are opportunities for my entire team to come together because we need to talk about this, and this. But how do I do it operationally? So you actually will probably need to have someone to bounce ideas off. So that's where a coach or a professional in the space of whether it be working with your people or accountant or in the space that I work in, it's actually so I need to tell everyone this. How do I do it? But there's operational considerations as well because it's not a one size fits all.
No.
And it's not, I live by the adage of it's not best practices, which practice is it best for?
Okay.
So it's really looking at what is going to be, what am I trying to achieve? What's the outcome? And how do I do that while still trying to run my business?
Right.
So it's just really important to find something that works for your business, knowing that there are certain things you need to achieve when it comes to bringing your team together to be high functioning or cohesive. And I can tell you now, having the team all together at some point is vital. We've seen that a lot with the hybrid and remote workforce.
Yeah, actually I really agree with that. When we were all sent home last year for a fairly significant amount of time, I racked my brains as to what to do with my team to keep them together. Because we're constantly talking in the office. We have an open, those who don't know, we have a completely open plan environment. We're all literally next to each other. So we're all talking, we're all doing things, we're all kind of calling out, we're all doing this all the time. Now at home, that wasn't possible. Even if we had teams up all the time, it just would have been too much noise, I think, for that. So what I ended up doing was, and we still do it, is on Wednesday, one of us taught the others through teams how to fold an origami project, and that mean the person had to think about which origami project they were going to do, and then they had to figure out how to teach everybody while they're at their homes. And that's a struggle, and I think we all found that we weren't as talented at origami as one would have hoped us to be, but they all liked it so much that we do it even today. We'll be doing origami tomorrow. Every Wednesday, really
cool one is having everyone blindfolded. And having someone talk through how to draw a snowman or how to do a Christmas tree or anything that and a duck. Some fabulous artwork.
It's
good fun.
Okay, there's always a next step for us.
That's right.
But I think you're right. Even when one is not together, there are ways to get us together that makes sense to continue that cohesiveness.
It's structured collaboration.
Okay.
And that's one thing that's been so important in moving to a hybrid workplace or a remote workplace is if there are times people are in the office, ensure that it's really productive and it's focused on collaboration. So instead of having an environment where you could just fire off a question knowing
someone's going to answer it.
Yeah, that's right. Knowing, everyone's in the office, so what are we going to do? Or this person has to be in the office that day, so let's organise that. So it's a bit more planning and preparation, but the benefits are really noticeable.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated by the psychology of this because we see, and one good example is MJT Law does a 4-3 week. We work Monday through to Thursday. We have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. And psychologically, like if you'd said to me 2 years ago, Melanie, let's stop working Fridays, I would have gone, are you kidding me? You have any idea how much work we've got? We're never going to get it done in 4 days. I can't barely get it done in 5. But we've made more money this year over 4 days than I did over 5.
Yeah.
And my brain says that just shouldn't work, but the numbers don't lie. And
so why do you think it works?
well, I've talked to my team about this. I think it's because my team and myself, by the time we get to Monday, it isn't a, Garfield, I hate Mondays situation. They've had their rest. They've had, and psychologically they've had more time off than anybody else that they know. So they've got a little bit of one-upship maybe. I don't know, but we feel better on Monday after 3 days than we do for the 2, and we're ready, and there is no hump day either. There's no fatigue. There's no, oh my God, this is Thursday, how am I going to get through Friday? There's no middle of the week Wednesday. It's we're like, it's like a brain shift. There are days we have to come into work because I'm a lawyer and court occurs and conciliations and documents have to go out, and we might pop in for a couple of hours or we might not. But yeah,
You're focused.
I actually have no answer.
No.
Because
are you focused? Are the team focused?
we do more work.
Absolutely.
We actually do more
Because you're
work.
focused on the outcome versus focused on being present.
But why does that work? You probably have a better insight, because as a lawyer I don't work with the emotion. I work with my brain.
Yep.
I mean, everyone works with the brain, but do you know what I mean? I'm not an emotional driven person.
Well, see, I'd debate that, because you don't make those sorts of decisions based on just numbers and figures, because you wouldn't make a decision like that.
We can't. No, it's true.
So
we took a punt.
But you've recognised the benefits around people's energy levels, their engagement levels, that you're doing something different, and doing something different can go one of 2 ways.
That's true. That's true.
And knowing that if it doesn't happen to work, we don't have to keep doing it. We can change it.
That's the other thing, I think. There's always that we can go back.
You've got a choice.
Yeah.
Which roundabout, that's exactly what we started talking about in the first
It's very true, actually.
It's about a choice.
Because I know there are people out there who do a 4-3 week but pay for 4 days. We here at MJT Law, we have a full-time wage. We just don't work a full-time week. That gives me comfort that I can drag my team in on a Friday if I want to, and it gives my team comfort that they're not part-time workers. And you probably understand how detrimental a part-time employee is to a full-time job in the future.
Or just 10-hour days versus a regular 8 to 9, and just life. There's a lot to fit in, so essentially it's just doing exactly the same amount of work and less hours.
Yeah.
So that is actually an emotionally driven decision.
I guess you're right.
Yeah, I am.
Should we re-record that for your husband?
No, he knows I'm right all the time. It's fine.
Yeah, it's I find it a surprising thing. You hear it, people do it, and you see really big companies do it, and they say it's brilliant, it's blah blah blah. And I don't know if they still do it. I'm pretty sure they do. At Barry Nelson, which is another law firm, a huge one, does a 9-day fortnight, and the employees work only if they don't work only if they finished all their work. I don't know anybody who actually works at Barry Nelson, so I don't know how that works in practice. But we are literally shut. Like, if I'm at home, I don't look at my emails. Monday morning is the day that I start my work again. And hopefully I won't get 10,000 messages.
I was just going to say, this could have just totally stuffed everything up now, Melanie. Your secret's out.
But yeah, it's I don't think any of my clients have been detrimented because of it. Certainly we don't let anything go because of it. And yeah, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
That's right.
And I don't know if it's going to go on forever.
It's working for now.
It's working for now.
But it's about change and making sure that you've planned according to the situation that you're currently in.
But anybody out there who thinks that a 4-day week won't work, happy to answer questions. Don't know how it works really. Melissa's probably far better giving you the real answers there.
Which practice is it best for?
Yeah, it's true. It's very, very true. I mean, there's certain industries that probably won't work as effectively than others, but certainly I think in a office environment, if you're looking at getting the most out of your team, it might be worth thinking about.
It's one element, absolutely.
Yeah, might be worth thinking about. And I think you're right, it's not a cookie cutter solution. This is not going to work for everybody because there is certain culture in working environments that this would just, you'd get taking the piss out of, there'd be more absenteeism, not less, there's a big thing there. But one of the problems that has occurred is no one takes leave.
Yes, there's your leave liability.
It's like, what? Yeah, no one's taking leave. So, all those employees out there who think they'll get more, they'll take more time off. But I was inspired by the New Zealand Prime Minister when I did this.
She's amazing.
I really like her. I really like Jacinda, but I was inspired by her because what she said to the New Zealand population was, try to do a 4-3 week, get out there on those 3 days and enjoy New Zealand and spend money. And I thought, actually, I'm going to take that and I'm going to encourage my team to do the same. Take more holidays.
Yeah.
Take more time out. Go out, spend your money. You're getting a full-time wage.
Yeah.
And encourage the economy. And I was really inspired by that. And I'm further inspired by the Prime Minister telling everyone they can have half-price fares. They're giving away 40,000 a week or whatever it is. And, I've been asking my team where they think they might be going.
Yeah.
They've got 3 days.
Yeah.
Happy days.
Absolutely. Well, you could tell them that they can have a little bit longer because they need to use up
Oh my God, the leave! But that's the difference. Like in the year that my team have been doing this, they have taken, barely any sick leave for a start. That's almost got rid of any sick leave that's on the table. All those days, sicky days or whatever. I'm not saying my team are doing sicky days. I'm going to get in trouble for that.
Reminder, it's an open plan office.
Yeah, I'm really getting in trouble for that one. But, they're taking less sick leave. And actually, yes, there is I'm not sure that's a problem for me, but yes, there is less leave taken. I'm not sure that matters for me. But, yeah, it's an interesting issue if it's a problem for you. Because I think that's what's going to happen if you do it yourself. But yeah, what about you? 4-day week, here we come.
Oh, I work 2 full-time jobs really. I have 2 children under the age of 3.5. I work 2 jobs. Oh, I'm just ready for a sleep.
Yeah. Well, the sofa I hear is very comfortable.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I've had a kip on the sofa a couple of times, so
nice.
You're quite welcome to
Thank
do that.
you. Thank you so much.
Well, look, Melissa, it's been lovely having you here today, and you are our first guest.
I feel so privileged.
I think it's brilliant. You've been a brilliant guest today.
Thank you so much.
And thank you everybody for those who are watching, and stand by. What we're going to do is on our YouTube channel, we're going to put some information up about Melissa. So if you want to learn a little bit more about her, we're going to help you cyber stalk her.
Thanks.
And your business. And well, thanks for watching, and very much thank you for...
Thank you, Melanie. My pleasure was all mine.
Oh, that's brilliant. Okay, everyone, I'll see you again.